Wondering what to write about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just a scout? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Spending time all alone, sending my songs to the phone, dreaming of a better home, while focused on trying to hone this craft, witchcraft. I hope the Brujas let this last.
I don't know if the earth is painted blue. I don't know.
That was Watson with Outside on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, with my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City made EZ Bluez is in the building. We got a long time friend of ours, Mr. EZ Bluez. You're going to be the conductor of this.
I've got this. I've got you. Let me fully introduce for the people watching, for the millions watching at home and the couple 100,000 that are listening on the radio. This man has been a genre bender. This man has been someone who loves to push the envelope. This man is fully following the mask regulation of COVID right now. Absolute pleasure. I have spent time pretty much in a dirt pit in, where were we? Ohio, with this man. We have seen some very interesting things. Let me introduce to you the man known as Mr. Freeze. What's going on, brother?
How is everybody?
Doing well, doing well, doing well.
It was Thornville, Ohio.
Oh, it was Ohio. Yeah, it was Ohio.
Thornville, Ohio.
Thornville, Ohio. Yes, it was.
You're referring to the infamous gathering of the Juggalos.
Yes, I am definitely, and it was so incredible, like being an outsider, and first of all, being massively welcomed in, which was gorgeous. But being an outsider and not used to the culture, it took me completely off my feet. But it was so embracing and so beautiful. Now, a lot of people are like, what the heck are these two talking about? There is many different subgenres in any type of art. Okay, so in music, there has been this horror subgenre, and this dates back. Forget hip hop. This dates back as far as Alice Cooper. Guar,
Arthur Brown.
Arthur Brown.
It goes back probably to Robert Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the whole stigma and mythology of selling your soul to the devil comes from Robert Johnson, who was a Delta blues singer and was probably the original star breakout artist of that time. And he was killed tragically at the age of 27, which also started the 27 Club. And I think that's where horrorcore gets its roots. I think that's where all dark music gets its roots from. I think that's where, if you trace back, it derives from there for sure.
You know what? I love how you were able to actually point that out, because that's really where it all comes from. And, that whole legend behind it, as well as being at the crossroads and selling your soul to the devil, was initially he wasn't that good of a musician. No. And then all of a sudden, a couple of years later, there became these releases of some just absolutely mind-blowing music. And this was at a time where literally someone would pull up to your house, and in the back of their car, they had a one-take record recorder. And he would just sit there playing his acoustic guitar and singing along to the blues, which again, really shows how much blended culture is important.
Mythology. I think the lore behind the stories of some of these guys is really what captivates people the most, like Led Zeppelin, the Allman Brothers. It was the Eagles. It was really all about, I think, the mystique that they portrayed, and it was bad business. Of course, somebody like Jimmy Page, if he's selling 1 million albums because people think that he may be into the occult and possibly Satanism or whatever, I think it would be bad business for someone like him to say no. So of course these guys are gonna play into it, and they're gonna let the legend follow them. You know what I mean? Because it's, you know, it would take away from the mystique to flat out deny it. It's kind of like Jay-Z when they ask him that question, and he has this famous interview where he said, I think he was talking, it wasn't Charlemagne, I forgot who he was talking to, but he said he asked him, do you worship a god? He said, I worship a god. It may not be the same god that you worship. He's like, but I worship something. And that's like, it's leaving it interpreted to the listener. Now, I mean, we all know Jay-Z probably doesn't worship the devil.
Right.
But he leaves it up to interpretation, and that's what a good artist does. This is art, man. Like, it's not a gimmick, but it's a part of yourself that you express yourself through the art that you're trying to portray, and whatever it is that you're trying to get across, that becomes like almost like a movie that you show people. And whatever you as the artist have the complete freedom to show the listener and the watcher and the viewer whatever that you want them to see. You don't have to show them something, but you can show them something else. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that's where music is kind of lost its turn, where now everybody's in everybody's business. Everybody wants to know who you're sleeping with.
Right.
You know, what drugs you did. What's your arrest record? Like, everybody wants to know these things, and
not me.
Well, well, thank God, Preston. I'm glad you and I, probably don't care about these things that other people care about. You know, and we're old school in that sense, and that's why I like. It's like, am I the old head because I don't agree with this way of thinking now, where like we just have to know everything about each other? You know what I mean? And like social media has kind of helped play a part in that, obviously. And I'm not denouncing these things. They're all good. Right. They're all good tools in some form. I'm just saying, as a musician or as a performer, as an artist, as a rapper, whatever you are, I just feel like having some mystique is very important, and like it helps build a show. Like, people thought Alice Cooper really was crazy back in 1970 when he started really doing that. And you have to remember, there was the Alice Cooper band before that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He wasn't Alice Cooper. He became Alice Cooper.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So because everybody would be like, hey, Alice, but he wasn't Alice Cooper. He just became that. But he was smart enough to recognize, hey, man, this is working. This image I'm doing is working. Now they associate me. And we wouldn't have a Marilyn Manson without Alice Cooper. You know what I mean? Same thing.
And it's really interesting because there's a story in like 1967. The Alice Cooper band was opening up for the Doors, and this was around the time the Doors.
I know the story because I'm a huge Doors fan. Yeah.
They were, you know, in their height, and they're playing the Whiskey, a place where you've gotten to play, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But they're playing the Whiskey, and Alice Cooper does this whole creepy thing, and there's a guillotine.
Nobody loves me.
Yeah. The whole crowd leaves.
Yeah.
Before the Doors even go on. Now,
ruined the show.
But that then adds such incredibleness to the story, because now, oh my gosh, this dude was so weird. Everyone left a Doors show. I didn't
even stay for that. It would be like today. It would be like going to see like Future.
Right.
And like the opening act comes on, and he's so weird that everybody's like, we're just leaving, and we're not sticking around for Future.
And they didn't ask for their money back.
Yeah, they didn't go outside. You could just went outside and just waited for him to get off stage. They just left.
They're like, no, we're done.
And the Whiskey's not the thing that people don't understand. Like, it's such a legendary place. It's not a big venue. It's not a large venue at all.
Right.
It's the size of like the Lily Pad. But it has a stage.
Wow.
But it's like the size of the Lily Pad, and it has like a small balcony. Where you look up, and that's where like Lou Adler and all these people used to watch acts like the Doors and stuff like that, and they would watch from the balcony and all that stuff. And yeah, that place is so legendary. Like, it's extremely, it's been pivotal. And it was, I don't know if it means anything to anybody else, but it was such like a moment in my life being able to play there 3 times that like it probably will be the 3 greatest shows I ever played, just because of the nostalgia and the history, and like the legend of that place is unmatched by like any other. I mean, there's great venues all over, but like, how many places can say that they were the Doors were the house band there? Guns N' Roses played there before their single, you know, on Appetite for Destruction even blew up. Freaking Welcome to the Jungle. Like, you know, all these people had to play there first, and they had to own the Whiskey first before they could go on to play stadiums.
And that's one of the things that I absolutely love, and I love that about your story in particular, because a lot of people get caught up in like, we're gonna be, I'm gonna be the best MC on my block, and they become, the best MC on their block, but really, what does that matter? I'm gonna be the best MC in my town. That's great. You're the best MC in your town, but what does that matter? You've taken this and you've done, let's see, Canada. You've been to the West Coast. You've been, in Ohio. You've taken this incredible piece of art that you do, and you've gone to different places. And you're one of the people who's constantly told me as a musician as well, play outside of CT. They'll like you more.
It's just a known fact. I don't know why. It's like I learned this from Busy Bone, from Bone Thugs, because I grew up listening to like East 99 Eternal and Bone Thugs and Harmony, and you just got this impression like Cleveland loved them. And when I actually chilled with Busy Bone and got to meet him, you realize that he had more hate in Cleveland than he had love, and that's because your hometown will always hate on you the most. That your home state, your home city, they will always hate you the most, because there's always going to be like 30, 40 guys that wanted to do what you do, and they never were capable of doing it, whether they didn't have the resources, they didn't have the drive, they didn't have the ambition, they didn't have the talent, whatever the reason. Now you're their target. It's the same way I watch other kids like from Connecticut be like, oh, F Apathy or F Chris Webby, I'm better than them. It's like, well, dude, if you were, you'd sell more records than them. It's really that simple. Until you do that, you're not better than them. So it's an irrelevant statement to be like sitting there as Joe Schmo and be like, well, I'm better than him. Okay, maybe you are, dude, but your stats don't prove it and your work ethic doesn't prove it. So it's completely irrelevant to say things like that. It'd be like me being like, well, I'm better than Eminem. You know what I mean? I'm not. So that's like, and like for me to like pretend like I am would just be asinine. You know what I mean?
And just for anyone who's trying to clip that part and use it against him later, he did say he's not. I just want to make sure.
I mean, like maybe I'm humble enough to admit that, and most people won't. But like, yeah, who's really messing with him on lyrics, on just lyrics? If you want to just go bar for bar, like who's really messing with him? Right. Not many. So like, who would I? You know what I mean? I'm just using it as an example. Who the hell would I be?
Right.
To say something like that. So I mean, everybody has bitter moments, but like, when you really sit back, it's like, do these people really think that they deserve to be farther ahead? Did you really earn it? Did you really? If you did, you'd be there somewhere. I've walked this every step of the mile, and I'm as far as somebody could go without being famous. Without being famous, because that's because I haven't had, and I'm humble enough to admit this about myself. That's why I'm into just straight villainy at this point in my life, because that's my way to pass. I'll get to that, because I've played the games, I've played the humbleness, I've played the, observe your surroundings, make rational decisions. I've seen the game, I've walked it, I've done it. And I'm telling you all, for all you aspiring rappers, musicians, and all this stuff out there, I'm as far as you can go without crossing over and becoming something that's bigger than, just like a couple thousand views on a video, or now I'm actually making a significant amount of money off of just like Spotify. Because we all know you got to have like 1 million plus streams to make any kind of significant money with Spotify. So the point I'm trying to make is, I'm sorry, hold on one second. My computer's doing this weird thing that I have to stop.
Okay.
It's popping up this weird stuff.
Freeze.
All right.
Yes.
Out of curiosity, just by your whole entire getup, were Gravediggers a big influence in your career?
Yes. I can name you my biggest influences right now. As far as imagery goes, I took from so many different people. I never wore this mask before, and anybody that knows my career knows it. I put out my first release in 2007. I never wore a mask. I never wore paint. I never did any of that stuff. And I'll tell you why I'm wearing it now.
Okay.
And in a minute. But yeah, no, Gravediggers, I almost appreciated them more than Wu-Tang at a certain point. Because it was RZA's like, it was RZA's like pet project. It was his baby. It's what he of course Wu-Tang was his thing. But Gravediggers was like his side thing where he was like, I really want this to work. And he was fortunate enough to have Prince Paul working with him. And RZA wasn't doing production on it, which was amazing to me. He was rapping all over Prince Paul's stuff. And a lot of people didn't even realize till the internet era that it was RZA. Like that he was in that group. And I don't know about anybody else. I discovered them when they did the song 1-800-Suicide for the Demon Knight soundtrack.
Right.
Yes.
And that's from Tales from the Crypt. And that's when I discovered them. And I was like 11 years old.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? So I was very young and I just fell in love with that. I think it started with Cypress Hill. They always had a darkness to them, an edge that was different than everybody else that was rapping at that time.
Right.
Even though they were also on some hippie stuff where they would rap about, you know, smoking weed and all this stuff, they also had this edge and this darkness. Like when they did Temple of Boom, it was like, I would say it was almost horrorcore. Obviously, as a 15-year-old kid, when I first started making music, I went the most extreme that I could. Right. But it wasn't really like a conscious decision. It was just what I was feeling and what I liked. I was an angry kid. You know what I mean? Like, I'm obviously not the same person that I was, you know, 13 years ago.
Of course.
You know, because who would still be in that same mind frame? So like when people ask me like, because I have the stigma of Red Snow, my debut album. That's like my most notable album. People will always talk about that album. I'm fortunate enough that I have an album that people will always talk about that have heard it and know the legend, if you want to call it.
Right. And so that people know, it's actually considered like one of the horrorcore essential records to have, which is amazing. Like I remember you and I were looking at eBay one time and someone was selling like a first copy for like a decent amount of money. You're like, where's my cut?
Yeah,
no, seriously.
They were selling it for like $40. Yeah. And they would bill it, like they would market it like ICP, Twisted, Brother Lynch Hung.
Right.
Like they would market it like Ghetto Boys. They would market it like all these, like Ghetto Boys were hip hop as hell.
Right.
But they started horrorcore and hip hop. For anybody that doesn't know, they were the first ones to say like things about Satan or the devil or demons, killing priests, killing babies. Not my forte. Not things that I rap. Not the things that I. My approach to what I do with this music is not the same as that. But I'm not hating on that. I'm just saying it was different. But like, you know, they were the first ones to really do that. And then I would say Esham in Detroit took it from there. And he's the real reason that you have all these. You wouldn't have a Tyler, the Creator. You wouldn't have an Eminem. You know, I'm sorry. You know, I'm sure Eminem knows this. He just wouldn't. He wouldn't be rapping about the things that he was rapping about if he didn't have an Esham before that.
Right.
Esham has this thing where he was like, I started white boy rap.
I sense heavy necro influence on you as well too.
No?
I don't know. We used to listen to Necro to laugh. Okay. We used to listen to him to have a good laugh. Does the guy have bars? I mean, yeah, he does. But like, I think that's as far as I should go on that. But just not in my, not in like my top 20. Like,
right.
Definitely.
Well, I think it's actually something that some people will, when they hear me singing, they're like, "Oh, I hear like a Scott Stapp influence," and I'm like,
no. Yeah. I get it.
What it is I think it's the same people who've influenced Necro have been an influence on you, and they can relate and they can see where you both are coming from.
I think to me, Necro's Cool G rap as a white Jewish guy. That's Cool G rap if he was white and Jewish. And that's not to put a stereotype or race on it. That's just it's kind of like Action Bronson is the Albanian version of Ghostface. You know what I mean? Right. That's just what it is. So unfortunately, that's how people look at things, even in hip hop.
Right.
It's like a novelty.
Right.
Can I redeem myself in saying Tech 9? How about that?
For sure. I mean, his whole hustle, his whole approach, I think him and Insane Clown Posse. Now, I mean, I would be lying if I said I wasn't influenced by ICP in some sense, and I'll tell you why. Their merch game and their whole their whole presence, from showmanship to stage show to theatrics to their merchandise, is unparalleled. Like, nobody has touched it. Nobody. I can't name, not from the biggest selling bands in the world, never seen anybody sell the amount of merchandise that they sell. Mm-hmm. Even to this day, those guys will live off merchandise till they die.
Right.
And that's something that I always really like respected about them, is that when I would watch other rappers that I really loved, like lyrically, they were awesome. Like from MF Doom.
People watch us on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven, myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City made EZ Bluez on Behind the Brand with Freeze. Continue, sir. Very sorry.
Wait, actually, before you continue, I kind of want to try to throw to the first track, because we have two tracks actually from Freeze. One from his group that now has the record been released yet? Or are you in the process of releasing this record?
This album, we set an original release date for, which I stopped promoting because now it's done. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying things for distribution that I don't want to speak on. Okay. If it doesn't end up working out, I'll end up releasing the album myself. But we're trying to get this one distributed because I'm working on getting. It's looking like Red Snow 3 is going to be distributed by a bigger company than what I'm capable of.
Oh, nice.
So I'm trying for the same thing for Beyond Top Secret. So I kind of stalled the album to see if we can make that happen for the group as well. If it doesn't happen for the group on this one, it will definitely happen on the next one that we do, because I do have plans to do one more Beyond Top Secret album for sure. I want to do one more really good album, but I think people are really going to like this one that we're working on.
Mm-hmm. And this is the follow-up record, because you guys have one record out prior, right?
We released our first album in 2015 as a band. Mm-hmm. We released our second album, Destroy and Rebuild, with just myself, Explicit, and Dr. Damage, no band, in 2018. Mm-hmm. And then Explicit took a little bit of a break from music, and I wanted to continue the group because I did not want to do anything solo at that point. I broke my foot and I needed heel surgery, and it laid me up for a year. So I didn't want to focus. I couldn't handle mentally doing a project myself. So I wanted to do a group again. So D Naz and I, who's my engineer and hype man, he who's also a great solo artist who's signed to Mercy Counts Records, which is my imprint, from New Haven, good guy. Him and I decided to carry on and do it without her for the last album, which was Last Train to Hollywood, which is a really freaking good album. And we were fortunate enough to tour right before COVID hit. We literally did like a 12-city tour of New England in New York. We played 2 dates in New York, and then we played up and down New England. We literally ended the day before they shut everything down. Like, we went back home, and we were fortunate enough to where we got it in, and we like got some aggression out, and we were able to play, and we got to see different cities, and we made some new fans. And we were fortunate enough to do that before COVID hit, which was last year, almost a year ago.
All right, so Harry, if we're ready, I don't know. I'd love to be able to bring forth. Now, this song's called Epstein, correct? Always love it.
Yeah, we're crazy for this one.
Run the spot, you gon' hear this pop. We gon' kill them all. What you want, homie? Feel the shots till you lick the floor. Hit his jaw, I'll be throwing punches till they not involved. Left him all holy, but he didn't want to worship God. Right or wrong, I don't give a fuck what I be high up on. I'ma die carried to the afterlife inside a ball. Riding straight back, windows tinted in a black hearse. Carry motherfuckers to the graves every time I walk. Dirty stain shirt, grave shift, digging ditches. I get home, your baby mother cooks me eggs with the quickness. Shorty looking bad, that's a fact, I don't give a house. Started in her face and sent her back with the other toast. Beast mode, coming from an East Coast nut house. Pull your brains on the streets, you get dumb out. Everybody getting gunned down on some product. Watch me toast, motherfuckers, heads like a bottleneck. You'll be sucking shit just to get paid. I don't sell my soul for no champagne. I I be feeling numb from this cocaine. Catch bullets, blah, blah, we gon' catch brains. Why? When I say I'm trying to flex, I'm sick. Every time you try to talk, dumb ish. Not a red dot, aiming at your skull quick. Blah, blah, I'ma see you with the full clip.
Who want a problem, hands flying, we resort to violence. Guess you can say I'm just a product of the projects. Straight out the gutter, black flag, 6 shooters, tough, whole crew of savages. So please don't get it hold up, never on no bitch. Yeah, I just run up, 5-pound street sweeper. He tied up in the trunk, got your imp on all 4, smacking hands till she's ashy. She popping pills, I'm shoving ones in between her ashy. Don't keep it classy, it's black Tims and black Scully. Shooters on the roof, just in case they ever come for me. What these bitches want from me, probably more money. Couldn't lick my crumbs off, you can't get nothing from me. Couldn't sell my soul for that bag, I already got it. Raised in the trap from the filth of the city, I promise we take what we want when we see it, yo, I'm honest. That white dyke been nuts, yeah, I've been psychotic.
What a happy, friendly radio song.
Well, one, it's very interesting to listen to a radio edit of any of your songs. This is a whole bunch of backwards things going on, and it's amazing for me. I felt like I was watching like the Channel 11 version of Pulp Fiction.
We were trying, you know, I was the new Beyond Top Secret is really diverse. We have all different, right. I say that a lot, like anybody that listens to my interviews, but like this one really is like a little of something for everybody. And this is the hardest song on the entire record. Right. And it was actually the last song that we did for it. And it was just me and Explicit on it. But like, I wanted to release it because I just wanted, I don't know what I was trying to prove. I think I maybe wanted to prove that like I could scream on a record and it'll still be interesting. Right. Well, and, I don't know what her approach was, you know, her usual Explicit approach, which was, but she has an amazing verse on that song.
Well, what's really interesting, and that's kind of one of the things I really, really, really want to talk to you about. You know, as you say that this record is extremely diverse, and you've done a lot of diverse material from start to finish. And you know, I've been with you for a bunch of it, and your work ethic is absolutely beautiful. But I do know that there's this one thing from conversations you and I have had over and over again is a lot of people, when they first fall in love with an artist, and for you it's Red Snow and you have this pinnacle record, they really try to pigeonhole you. And I know that you've hit some frustration points with that, and you've done some different type of things almost to be like, hey, I'm still Freeze and I'm going to tell you where to go, but now I'm telling my fans where to go because I'm gonna go in this style. And there was some pushback in that, and it helped you really discover, you know, where you are. So as an artist, and for those listening at home, this is where I tell you to pull over to the side of the road, grab the pen and the piece of paper and take some notes, because this is important. How are you able to navigate, you know, fan expectation and art expectation?
It used to bother me. I'm going to be very honest with you.
I was there.
When I first made Red Snow, I always knew that was just an introduction, and I always knew that I was going to do other things. I wanted to use being a white kid from Waterbury, Connecticut, a white Sicilian, you know what I mean? Like on top of that, like I'm an Italian kid. I had to stick out somewhere. You know what I mean? I had to separate myself from everybody else. And even back then, this is like internet, like this is when the internet really started to really like boom when it came to music, like in MP3s really started to pop off and all that stuff. But people were still buying physical albums, and they were still like, it was still supportive on a physical level. I wanted to make my introduction because I knew I would be easier for me to hit the market of like the crazy white boy than it would to be the gangster white boy, or to be the lyrical white boy. We already had Eminem. We already had Copyright. We already had all these other white guys at that time who could rap really well. So, I mean, I had to stand out somehow. So my approach to it was, this is what I was feeling at the time, being angry. I started writing the record when I was 15. I ended up releasing it when I was 18. And I wasn't even the same person at 18 when it came out that I was when I first started writing it. But it was always supposed to be, this was just like the introduction. Like, this is just get my foot in the door. I always looked at artists, to me, that was kind of like selling out, like doing that. Because I wasn't trying to go mainstream and make you a pop friendly song. I was trying to be so left field that you listen to it because you never heard it before. And that's what ended up happening. But it did pigeonhole me in a sense, because it became like, it's like Slug from Atmosphere. Once girls started liking his stuff, he had to start catering to them. Like, he no longer could be like, I'm just a rapper. I'm just a good rapper. He couldn't be that guy anymore. He had to be like, I'm the ladies rapper now. He had to fill those shoes. You know what I mean? That's just the role that sometimes you get handed. And unfortunately, being young-minded at the time, I rebelled against that for sure. I was offered a deal with, I mean, you got to look at my mind frame at the time. I was supposed to be signed by Epic Records before Red Snow even came out. I had this big ego. I thought I was the next big thing. I thought when you believe in yourself as an artist so much, it's almost like it's not that you want to be overconfident, it's that you just believe it and you see results. And when you're 15, 16, 17, you see these results from something that you wrote in your mother's basement, just saying some crazy stuff, you know what I mean, that you were feeling at the time, and people were responding to it. All different kinds of people. Like, the most diverse people are listening to my music. Like, and like, my fan base, you cannot like stereotype them, because they're all different kinds of people. They're all different kinds. And even I can't tell you who, like, what they will be like until I see them. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I made my next album after that, coming off this attitude, like, all right, didn't work out with Epic Records. I put out Red Snow. I proved what I wanted to prove. I put it out with Long Range Distribution, which everybody that knows was Mark Kemp, which was Eminem's former manager that got fired for not buying him a cheeseburger. And that was the guy that I put my faith in.
Like, I just wanted a cheeseburger.
I probably should have realized that when he wouldn't buy Em a cheeseburger, that probably should have been a red flag. So I put out my first two albums with him, and they did well. Don't get me wrong. They brought me places that I never would have gotten if I hadn't put those albums out. And that's who I am now. It's right. Who I am. But people were very mad about the second album, because they were like, because I named it The Righteous Path. And the point of that was supposed to be like, Freeze is not all bad. It's not everything is negative. You know what I mean? Like, some things I wanted to show people that, like, I was going through a time in my life where I was having this spiritual battle inside myself, and I thought I was going to die. And that's being real with you guys. I kept having these visions I was going to die, and something was going to happen to me. I didn't know how. I thought maybe someone might shoot me. I thought maybe I would get into a car accident. I thought maybe I would die in a plane crash. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I knew it was coming. My daughter was just born, and I had just put out Righteous Path, literally. Right. And no, I'm sorry. I had not put out Righteous Path. I was just finishing Righteous Path. And I was already kind of confused about where I was going with the record. And I didn't know what I was doing, because I was just doing what I was feeling. I was feeling all these weird things. I can't explain fully what I was going through at that time, but it was a lot of BS and nonsense. And I just felt spiritually disconnected. And I felt like maybe the evil, not right. You get what you put in. So if you put out negative energy, even though a lot of people responded to the record positively, and they were like, yo, man, you had songs on there like the title track, Red Snow, like, I wanted to kill myself, and then I did it because you made that song. That's beautiful. Like, you can't really describe what it means to have some kid come up to you and say that, like, a song changed your life. Everybody wishes it happens to them. Everybody wishes they make songs that somebody feels that way about, and they lie about it and whatever. I actually am fortunate enough to have a song that I could say has saved some people's lives. But I think I put out a lot of negative energy with that album as well. So I think it messed up my mind frame. I think when you got thousands of kids listening to you and they're listening to your anger, that might invoke something that's not necessarily healthy or good. Right. So I made Righteous Path to kind of counteract it, but it wasn't a gospel album. It wasn't It wasn't like I wasn't a gospel rapper now. I was just making a spiritual statement with myself about what was going on. I think everybody, whether you have a higher belief or not, I think everybody goes through something inside them where they're torn and they feel disconnected, or they feel like they want to know more, or they want to feel more. And that's what I was going through. And I ended up getting into a car accident on Christmas Eve and I almost died. And that's what, and like I was supposed to die in that accident. I firmly believe I was supposed to, and I don't know why I lived. I think it's because I had my kid. I think it's because my daughter was born, because it all started before she was even born. And I swear, I don't know. I've never had this feeling since or before.
Right.
Once I got in that accident, it was gone. Like I felt like I was saved. And I finished Reg's Path, and it was what I wanted it to be, but it wasn't reciprocated the way that, like you said, I got pigeonholed. People wanted to hear angry, beef with the world, freaking, I have a song called Burn the Bodies. It was my first hit.
Right.
The song's literally burn all the bodies, and people loved it.
Well, it's really interesting because for other artists and stuff, Korn made a full statement about that. After Follow the Leader, they released the record Issues. And on that record, there's a song called Make Me Bad. And the premise behind that song is a conversation with the fans. When you hit a certain amount of success, you can't carry, the issues you had prior into that next thing, because then you're not growing as a human. You're not growing.
John
as
Davis is not, he's not on meth at this point. He's not, you know what I mean? It's, exactly, dude. Like, I think that, that brings us up to date now. And I stopped doing Mr. Freeze. I stopped doing that character. When I say character, I mean whatever I channeled at 15 wasn't anymore at 21. So to me, it became a character. It became a part of me, like almost like a split personality. It became a part of me that I have to like put in a closet and bring out once in a while and be like, all right, he's still here, but so I became like this. I started developing this Freeze Martian thing, which started off strong, and it scored me another underground hit. I made the song "Jumping from Planes," which was not dark at all, and it proved to me what I was trying to prove to the listener, that I could hit other markets and I could reach other people, and I did, and I gained another fan base off of that. I gained another 1,000 kids, or whatever. I mean, just people. I gained another 1,000 people that they didn't know Red Snow, Mr. Freeze. Now they just know Freeze Martian, and he's making this galactic, weird alien music, about being isolated and feeling like you don't belong in the world, but like still having this confidence, like whatever, man, like own it. Like you feel like an outcast, own it. So I started developing that in my alien logo. This thing. Looks like crap on my hand now, but this became like a thing for a minute. And I had people wanting to buy the logo from me.
I've seen people getting that tattooed.
Kids are tattooing it. It's still mine. It's still my logo. It still represents Freeze, but it's a different part of my universe. It's all in the same universe. So I never did this consciously, but I've always been a fan of like certain comic books, like certain stuff. Like Doctor Doom, Fantastic Four, Mr. Freeze, and Batman. Tomb of Dracula. I was always into like the darker side of comic books, and I realized like I don't know if I was listening to MF Doom one day, and it kind of just made it all make sense to me.
Right.
I didn't start replicating what he did, but I admired what he did because I realized what he was doing was what I was trying to do. I was trying to create characters. What's that?
Is that the reason for your mask, MF Doom?
No. It's in a way, it's obviously people are gonna look at this mask and they're gonna be like, oh, it's like MF Doom, and he just died and all that stuff. So of course people are gonna think that. In a way, it's carrying on the legacy, if you want to say that. I mean, who am I to do so? But I understand what Doom was doing, where like when his brother died, like he separated himself and he was like, all right, like what I was doing before with KMD is not who I am now. Kind of what we were just talking about. And he became MF Doom, and he didn't know what it was going to do. He was sleeping on park benches. And It just goes to show you, like, he just literally followed his instinct. And he just did what he loved. And he was smart enough to realize, like, who's rapping about comic books?
Mm-hmm.
Who's rapping about, like, alter egos and all these things? Like, yeah, you had Eminem on Slim Shady. But, like, I think MF Doom was probably the first guy. So we're like, 1 minute, you know, 1 minute he's Doom. Then he's freaking, what is it? Victor, what was it? Wow, what was the other one he did?
Victor Voorhees, as we talked
Victor,
about,
he was then
WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven, myself, Prestige, with my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City made, EZ Bluez is in the building. We got Mr. Freeze with us on Behind the Brand. EZ Bluez, continue for Freeze.
Well, I think it's absolutely incredible because I'm a big fan of understanding that we are just a small piece of the giant song. And we're always going to be throwing back to what came before. One of the things that I absolutely love about you as a human, you know, forget the mask, forget everything else. We've actually talked. Like, you know, I'll be honest, we're too much men to admit it, but we almost cried together. It was like a hot second, you know.
I'm sure. I have moments like that all the time, bro.
You know,
genuine moments are genuine moments. I'm man enough to admit when something's beautiful and we share something, for sure, dude.
So it's incredible to see this arc, and I love the fact that you, on top of everything, no matter what anyone else can say through this interview alone, you are a historian of the genre of music altogether. You know, you really understand on a level that not a lot of people truly get, that to study the game isn't studying just what your favorite artist did. You need to study the entire game from start to finish, and pick your lane and go through it. And you know, you've now created kind of like this incredible story arc as per who you were with Red Snow, as per the transition into Freeze the Martian, who spent some time as Freezus, if you I remember that record or that EP. And now you've gone into this new chapter, and this new chapter is you rocking a mask, but it's also a little bit more than that, because you know
it's not just a mask. It's I'm not. This is taking my art somewhere farther, and I'm trying to paint a story for you now.
Right.
Like I said earlier about how everybody needs to be in everybody's business. It's like, so now it's like I have to, you know, here I am explaining to you my art, when in reality, I wish I could just put the mask on and just drop songs and people would get it and just, you know, make your own interpretation, but it's not the world we live in anymore. The mask for me, I was tired of girls giving a fuck about this. I'm sorry.
Oh, shit. Shoot.
I'm sorry. I said fudge. I'm sorry. I better get you guys in trouble now, aren't I?
It's okay. Just
it's called the FCC on me. But I'm sorry. I was tired of girls caring about this.
Right.
I was tired of people judging me off of this. And whatever your opinion is on my face, I was tired of this being the focal point and this being the first thing that you care about. I was getting really tired of people saying they liked my music when in reality they just liked how I looked.
Right.
Or they just liked like me and just thought, you know, at the end of the day, I just want you to like my music. I don't care about any of this other stuff.
Right.
Like, I don't care what you think about me on social media. I just want you to like my songs. And like, we've lost that. It's a character now. So now the mask is off, you know what I mean? But the point of this was, you know, I just want people to care. And that's another thing I respected about Doom. I just want you to care about what I'm doing on the record. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have tattoos all over my face.
Right.
I'm not going to dye my hair. I'm not going to put on this dog and pony show for you. You know what I mean? I'm only going to be who I am. And that's why Mr. Freeze is back, because I am back to just doing what I want. And I'm not trying to appease the fans, but I know what they want. And I want the same thing now.
Right.
So before, like we were talking about before, I was resentful. I was rebellious. I wanted to lead my own. I wanted to grab the torch and lead them, like you said, almost. Like I didn't want them to dictate where I was going with my music, like it happens to a lot of artists. Let's be honest, it happens. The Beastie Boys. They had no intention of doing that for 30 more years, doing that stuff that they did on License to Ill. They had no intention. They wanted to go and pick the instruments back up. But they couldn't. It didn't, they did Ill Communication, and people were like, just rap. They're like, we just don't want to see you play the bass and the drums and the guitar anymore. Right. And I get it. But I'm on the same page now. So that's why Mr. Freeze is back. That's why I'm back doing. It's not angry.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It's the one thing I could say about what Mr. Freeze is doing, what Freeze Martian was doing. Freeze Martian was very I, and Mr. Freeze is more they, you, this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really about me. It's about what I see, what's going on, how I feel. You know what I mean?
Right. Now, where does Beyond Top Secret land in that conversation?
That's the part of me. See, when I talk about split personalities, it's weird. It's like my art is how I don't know how other people are as artists. One day I want to like go make movies and like I want to do and I want to like write scripts, and then the next day I want to like write records, and then the next day I want to go ghost hunt, and I want to like, and then the next day I want to like I don't know how to word this one. Like I want to like YouTube blog and stuff like that about things that interest me. Not anything having to do with my music, just things that interest me. I want to do podcasts. I just changed my mind. I don't change my mind, but I have other ideas that aren't just music all the time.
So I think
so I think that's why my music has different elements. So Beyond Top Secret is more of I think that's closest to Ty Mencio as you get on record.
Right. And that's what I wanted people to know, because again, I've seen you through different stages, and I've been with you through different stages, and I have to say the lyricism in the newer stuff that I've heard from Beyond Top Secret really is more of like that kind of opening up that curtain of like, this is who I am, but then you close it real quick and say some really interesting weird things as well, which is who you are. You know what I mean?
I'm very smoke and mirrors. Like I said, yes. I love mystique, man. Like I like keep people guessing. I put out music, right? And like 1,000 kids hear it, and maybe 3 of them will hit me up and be like, were you trying to say this on that song? And maybe one of them got it.
Right.
Maybe one of them, because it's like, you think I'm talking about one thing, but I'm really talking about something else. And that's why you kind of have to listen to my songs. My songs are like Kubrick films. Like you got to watch to the end. Like you got to listen to the end to really understand where I'm going. If you want to turn it off in the first 30 seconds, that's fine. But you're missing out on what the whole overall picture was, because I'm not one of those artists. Like I remember somebody put me in some contest a couple of years ago, and people were commenting. They were like, he didn't rap in the first 30 seconds of the song. So like, I just clicked off it. And I was like, yo, that's how lazy listeners are now. And that's fine, because I don't want you. I don't want you. And I'm not, my art is, I'm in full control of that. So I don't care. I don't want you unless you slightly appreciate it. If you even slightly appreciate it, then you're embraced. But if my art has to grab you in 2 seconds because I gotta be like saying some stupid crap in the beginning, sorry, it's not what's gonna happen. That's not me. That's just not who I am. I'm painting pictures. I'm telling stories, and I'll live and die doing that.
Right.
I won't change for anybody. And like I've had people every week be like, "Oh, Freeze, man, you could be making millions. You could be doing this. You should be doing that. You should just do this right now." It's like, bro, how lame would I be to stop everything that I'm doing now, that I've built, that I've gotten? I'm fortunate enough to have a couple thousand kids that really appreciate. Sure, I could go sell out right now, and maybe I'll get a couple thousand more. Maybe I can get 100,000. But like, am I going to be happy with that? Is it going to be real to me? Is it going to be real to me? Is it going to be genuine to me? Is it going to be what I wanted? No, I don't want this to be something that I'm not. It's as plain and simple as I can make it.
Well, and I think that's absolutely incredible, because I remember sitting in your car one time, and we were just sitting there and talking, and you're like, yo, do I really just have to release a whole bunch of little dicky stuff and like just be ridiculous and absurd? Like, is that where this is going? Because like I don't know if I'm ready to do that. I don't know, you know, if
like the same thing when mumble rap hit and trap. I mean, I loved 3-6 Mafia. I loved Gucci Mane. That's where I loved T.I. That's where trap came from. But I'm gonna be honest with you. You know, what you call trap now is not really my cup of tea. And that's fine. I understand why a 16-year-old kid likes it. Who am I to say this is what happens? You know what I mean? Like we were all eventually like we were all gonna end up being the ones where we're looking at music and being like, what? Yeah, and like looking at our kids like, what? Like WAP? Like what are you talking about? Like to me, WAP was a racial slur against Italians. That's the only thing I knew about WAP.
Right.
Like, that's what kids used to call me at school to try to insult me. You know what I mean? Like that's the only thing I knew about that. So like I don't think I'm out of touch, but I don't want to get it because that would ruin me as an artist. That would dumb me down. If I was
unfortunately, we are almost out of time. Unfortunately, we are almost out of time. And I like you're such a passionate human being, man. I love talking with you. I love talking music with you. So right now, I know I've been there.
I try, you know, I always have an idea of where I want to go with my points, and I don't think I hit them really very much on this one, but it's okay.
Yo, you nailed it, and we're gonna share the video. It's gonna be great. But
get
let's
the new album.
This is your chance. This is your chance
to
plug everything.
We got the new album, Wake the Kids, coming out. You can follow us on social media at Beyond Top Secret Official. We're on all digital platforms. We're on everywhere that you can find music. We are there. And look up our other albums and check us out. You won't be disappointed. But I'm excited because Red Snow 3, the third installment of the Mr. Freeze saga, is coming out. I don't have a definite release date yet, but you can definitely expect that before 2021 is over, and probably before summer for sure. And this Beyond Top Secret, like I said, there's no release date as of now, but I guarantee you it's going to be out before March. I'm just going to drop it because what does it matter? You know what I mean? My fans are going to like it regardless. They're going to listen to it regardless. It doesn't matter if I set a release date. So it is. Right. Follow me at I just started a new page, Mr. Freeze, aka Martian, at Facebook, and you can always follow me on Instagram at Freeze the Martian.
And so we're gonna throw to this last song. This is off of Red Snow 3, correct?
The first single, and it's definitely different.
Wow, it's been a pleasure here at WNHH.
Thank you guys. Easy,
New
Preston,
Haven.
I appreciate you guys, man.
Appreciate you too. On WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven, behind the brand, myself, Preston.
I shall discover the secret that man has been looking for since the beginning of time.
Space racer, escalator, jump into the elevator, star hater, giving pace, make it to these Darth Vaders. Haterade, drinking out a great thinker, Forrest Gump, bodies hit the piles full of trash, Staten Island dump, bigger bucks, coming our ways like nunchucks, dumb tough, getting sauced up, make the hens cluck, buck, go hard, boo-boos, ghost bars, Mr. Free Savage like Guatemalan blow dogs, growth spurts, so large, giant steps, subpar, possessed like an Ed Warren object in your front yard. So just play it like a loud whistle, round missile, scorched beef feed. All what's left was the bone gristle, raw tissue. They ain't gonna miss you when I finish. Got a cancer patient beat. I'm the sickest, hands down, ran down. Joker henchman with my free struck. Feet up with the world in my hand like a bee cup.
On the surface, Jenny seemed normal, but her doctor told me that her sanity remains iron and living here. I'm sure Jenny's hallucinations come partly from her sick mind, and I'm sure that they must also have a cause and foundation in the reality that surrounds me.
I'm so frightened here.
It's exhausting, carbon in your airways. Now they sleep, walking the path to heaven's staircase. Paper chase rats in the tunnels towards the light above. Brighter thugs make it, but the rest struggle through the mud. Ending up broke, but he's happy that he made it. Overpower any opposition that he's facing. Some will play Jason and some will play your Mike. See the shattered face and some mediocre height. He don't want a problem, I can see out without lights. Golden tongue, I'm about to flip it like a bike. Jogging out life like my name was Kane Marco. Marco. Woke up in his bed, he was home with Donnie Darko. Long road to the afterlife with your quarters up. Entrance gate start by the thugs at the barbershop. Money, guap, bread, can't take it where you going. In a world full of mutant villain men and opponents.
You're among friends here. You must trust us. Take this mild drug and you will have a nice sleep without any nightmares. You will sleep now. A long sleep. You leave all your nightmares behind.